Dusk draped itself over Dustmere like a tired blanket, the sky bruised purple and gold as if the day had gone 12 rounds with the desert. A soft wind wandered the empty street, dragging the scent of oncoming rain across the wooden porches. Dust curled through the air like small ghosts looking for a place to rest. Iona Redbird walked alone down the main road, shawl clutched close, her breath unsteady. Her eyes glimmered with the sting of fresh humiliation. Only minutes earlier, in front of the church doors, she had whispered the words that now echoed in her skull like a cruel chant. No man is willing to take me as his wife. The moment had burned her from the inside, and though she held her spine straight, pain leaked from her posture in quiet waves. Through the mercantile window, Martha Creel watched with her usual pinched bitterness, whispering behind a lace fan. Others stared too, their judgment sharp as broken glass. Iona felt each gaze, each whisper, as if the entire town were tightening its hands around her ribs. Dustmere had always kept her at a distance, because she was native, because she was quiet, because she seemed carved from a loss the town didn't want to name. She had learned to bear loneliness like a second skin, but tonight it weighed heavy to be why the livery. Cassian Holt paused mid-task, the chestnut mare half-shooed before him. He looked up just in time to catch the tremble in Iona's breath as she passed. He'd watched her for years, watched the quiet kindness she offered to those who shunned her, watched the strength she hid beneath a soft voice, watched the way she endured cruelty with a grace he could never fathom. Something tightened in his chest as she walked by, shoulders drawn inward against a world too quick to wound her that he didn't call out. Not yet, but his eyes followed her like a lantern through the gathering storm. Iona stopped beside the water trough, fingers gripping its edge as the first drops of rain touched her braid. Her voice cracked as she whispered into her palms, "What is wrong with me? Am I so unworthy? So unwanted?" The sound of her own despair startled her. She had never been dramatic, never spilled her sorrow where anyone might see it. But tonight her heart ached with a long-carried weight, heavier with each rejection. She thought of her village, of what she'd lost, of the possibility of love she'd once dared to dream of. Dustmere had given her shelter, yes, but it had starved her of belonging. Cassian approached, boots splashing through rising puddles. The rain grew thicker, drumming a slow, weary rhythm on the rooftops. He stopped just a breath away from her. "Iona," he said softly, "it's not you." She flinched as if the gentleness itself hurt. "Don't pity me, Cassian. I'm not pitying you." His voice rolled low, steady, certain, like thunder warming the horizon. But the eyes peering from the saloon windows turned her face red with shame. "Please," she whispered, stepping back. "Don't make this worse." She turned and walked out of town, rain falling harder with each step. Cassian hesitated only a moment before following her into the gray downpour. Lightning cracked the sky, illuminating her silhouette near the ridge, a lone figure beneath the overhang of an old abandoned cabin. The lantern inside flickered uncertainly, its glow barely reaching her trembling shoulders. "Why did you follow me?" she asked without lifting her head. "Because you shouldn't face this storm alone." "I've faced every storm alone," she replied, voice soft, worn thin. "What difference does one more make?" Her words hit him like a blow. He had watched her weather storms before, shouldered burdens she never complained about, endured townsfolk who smiled with false teeth and sharper tongues. He had kept quiet, telling himself it wasn't his place. But tonight, silence tasted like cowardice that he stepped closer. The rain dripped from his hat, from his sleeves, from the ends of his hair. "I heard what you said," he murmured. "That wasn't meant for you," she whispered. "Maybe not, but you deserve someone who sees your worth." She let out a broken laugh, small, hopeless. "Men want wives they can explain. Women like me, we're stories they're afraid to tell." Cassian's jaw clenched. Lightning flashed, painting her face in white light, her lashes wet, her lips trembling, her breath wavering in the space between them. And then he said the words she never expected, words that stopped her breath mid-chest. "Iona, if you truly believe no man would take you as his wife, then you haven't looked closely enough." The storm raged behind him, wind howling through the desert brush. Iona's heart thudded painfully. She stared at him, stunned, unsure whether to step back or step forward. The night hung heavy, waiting to see what would happen next. Rain hammered the earth in silver sheets, running down Cashin's coat, clinging to Iana's lashes. She stared at him as if the world had tilted beneath her feet. "What are you saying?" She breathed. That maybe the right man was too afraid to speak. He answered, voice trembling with honesty he could no longer swallow. Iana shook her head, wrapping her arms around herself. "Cashin, please. I can't take more hurt tonight." "You think I'd hurt you?" "You wouldn't mean to," she whispered. "But this town's judgment cuts deeper than any blade. I've lived with their eyes on my back for years." Lightning cracked above them, briefly illuminating the rugged lines of his face, raw with feeling, tight with something like fear. "Iana," he said, "I don't care what they say anymore. Not tonight." Before she could reply, voices flickered through the rain like unwanted shadows. Martha Creel appeared at the ridge with two men in tow, lanterns swinging, faces twisted with suspicion. "Well," she drawled, "ain't this a sight? A native girl dragging a cowboy into scandalous weather." Iana stiffened, shoulders folding inward. Hurt flared across her features like a fresh bruise. Cashin stepped in front of her, jaw set like stone. "You'd best mind your tongue, Martha." "Oh," she sniffed. "The whole town knows no man wants her. She should be grateful for any kind of—" "That's enough," Cashin growled. Martha lifted her chin. "Truth's truth." Something in Iana sagged at those words, an old wound torn open yet again. Cashin felt it, felt the weight of every slight she'd carried alone. And something inside him broke loose. His voice rose with sudden thunder. "No man wants her? Then let me make this plain, Martha. I do." The word struck the ridge like a gunshot. The townsman froze. Martha's mouth snapped shut. Iana's hand flew to her lips, eyes wide, breath stolen clean from her chest. Cashin didn't stop there. "She's worth 10 of anyone in Dustmere," he said fiercely. "If you can't see that, that's your ignorance, not hers." Shock flickered across Martha's lantern-lit face. She stumbled back a step, sputtering. "You'll regret this, Cashin Holt. Mark my words." He didn't blink. Not for a single heartbeat. Martha retreated, swallowed by the rain and dark. The lantern glow faded, leaving only the storm, the night, and the two of them. Iana's knees finally gave out, but not from weakness. A collapse of emotion too heavy to stand under. She dropped into the wet earth, hands covering her face. "Cashin, why did you say that?" He knelt beside her, his hat dripping, his breath shaky. "Because it's the truth," he said softly. "I've watched you live with more courage than this whole town combined. I've watched you give kindness to people who never deserved it. I've watched you survive with grace. Iana, you are the bravest soul I've ever known." She trembled, rain mixing with tears she couldn't hide. "But wanting me as a wife, that's different," she whispered. Cashin lifted a strand of wet hair from her cheek, his touch gentle, reverent. "Not to me." The storm softened, shifting from fury to steady rhythm. They sat close, closer than they ever had, breathing the same damp, trembling air. Iana studied his face, seeing nothing but sincerity, longing, and the fear of losing this moment. "I never wanted much," she said quietly. "Just to belong somewhere." "You belong with me," he murmured. He didn't reach for her hand. He waited, patient, respectful, steady, until she leaned forward and pressed her forehead to his. A breath escaped both of them, slow and fragile. "I'm afraid," she whispered. His voice matched hers, soft as rain. "So am I. But maybe we can be brave together." A lightning bolt tore across the sky, illuminating them in a burst of white. Cashin stood and extended his hand to her, not as a gesture of rescue, but as an offering. "Iana Redbird," he said softly, "walk beside me, not as someone unworthy, but as the woman I choose. Freely, proudly." Her heart thudded like thunder. She looked at his hand, at the storm washing clean the world around them, and for the first time in years, she felt something warm flicker in her chest, hope. Slowly, she slipped her hand into his. The world seemed to ease. The storm pulled back. The desert breathed. And in the moonlit darkness, two silhouettes stood together, not as outcasts, not as wounded souls, but as people who had finally found a truth worth holding on to. If you, the listener, have ever felt unwanted, unseen, or carved thin by others' judgment, remember this. Storms do not only break things, they reveal what is strong enough to endure. Some hearts shine quietly, and the right soul will always find that light, even in the rain. When the world feels cruel, hold fast. Somewhere out there is a ridge, a bolt of lightning, and someone brave enough to say, I choose you, as you are.